Hello and welcome to Cambrian Live, and today we're talking about bridge cameras. Hello everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Paul Davis from Cambrian Photography, and today we're asking the question, why would you buy a bridge camera and what they're all about? And we're going to be digging a little bit into the three most popular ones that we actually sell as well. So I'm going to give you a quick run through of some of the features of the three popular cameras that we sell as bridge cameras. As always, if you're watching live and if you've got any questions regarding bridge cameras, please pop them in the comments below and we can get to them during the video or at the end as well. Let me know that you're watching live as well. Give us a hello in the comments as well. It's always nice to see that I'm not alone here. There's people actually watching me, so it's always nice to see the live comments coming in. So we've got some live comments coming in now, which is great. Fantastic. So yes, let's get started. So we're going to be looking at bridge cameras today with the three more popular ones, which is the Panasonic Lumix FZ82, the new Nikon Coolpix P950, and also the RX10 Mark III as well. So these are the three that we're going to be looking at. So let's just start with just the basics on the Panasonics. Very quickly, obviously, we're going to go into this in a little bit more details, but just as a general thing, 18 megapixels, 60 times optical zoom with a 20mm wide angle going up to 1200, shoots in 4K, does 10 frames per second, comes with a viewfinder, rear screen, and also the Wi-Fi connectivity. And price on these is $299. And I have this camera in front of me here now. So this is the camera. So one of the main features that we love with the bridge cameras, as you saw in the brief description just there, was the amount of zoom that they carry. So as you can see, this is something that fits lovely and comfortable in my hand, and this has up to a 1200mm zoom. So as we switch the camera on, we can see that the lens will protrude out very, very slightly when we first switch the camera on. And then when we use the zoom feature, which is just on the top of the camera just here, you'll notice that this will come out from the body quite far, giving us the 1200mm sort of focal length. And it can achieve this focal length because it uses a compact size sensor inside of it. So it means that all the lenses can be a lot smaller than what we'd see on like a DSLR or mirrorless system. So it enables us to have that fantastic zoom built in and going all the way up to 1200mm. So something that goes up to 1200mm on DSLR or mirrorless systems are massive. So having something that's small and compact in the hand like this is absolutely lovely. Standard features on this particular model. So on the top, we've got our wheel, which will control our main functions. So we can see that we can go through the auto mode, which is on there, through to program mode, aperture mode, shutter priority, and full manual control as well. There's also some scene features. We can access a styling mode as well. So if we wanted to sort of add color to our photos, we can do that with this camera. Moving on to the back of the camera, what you find with most bridge cameras is that they do have a EVF built into them. So that's one of the nice features that we see with bridge cameras. And there's a button just on the side here that will switch between the screen and the viewfinder just by flicking it on there. Standard features on the back, so we can access the 10 frames per second burst mode, which is found at the bottom. We can access our white balance. We can change the area of focus. We can also do this by touching on the screen as well. So this does have a touch function on the back of the screen as well. Then we've also got some customizing buttons just at the bottom, and also we can change our display. Back onto the top of the camera, we've got features that are unique to the Panasonic range. So we've got the 4K photo, which we're able to shoot 25 frames per second and pick our favorite photo. And we've also got the macro focus stacking as well, which once again uses that 4K technology to stack your photos together to give you some lovely sort of macro shooting. So one of the features that we like about this camera is mainly the price. So we're getting up to 1200mm for under £300, which makes it a really nice sort of bridge camera. But what would we look at if we were going up from this? Well, we'd have a look at the Nikon. So once again, let's just bring up the standard specs on the Nikon, just so we can have a brief overview. So with the Nikon, it uses a 16 megapixel backlit sensor. So the backlit sensor will improve low light capability. One of the main features about the P range in the Nikon is the amount of zoom that it has. So this has an 83 times optical zoom, which is a 24mm to 2000mm 35mm equivalent. We're starting to see 4K recording as standard now. One of the upgraded features on this model is RAW shooting. We have a vari-angled screen, Wi-Fi connectivity, and a price point of $799. So the first thing that we'll notice with this particular camera, it is slightly bigger, and that's purely to house the amount of zoom that this has. So 2000mm 35mm equivalent, which is absolutely insane, the amount of zoom focal length that this actually has built in. Once again, having a look at the camera from the top, we can see that we've got the standard toggle buttons that we can find just on there, which will go from our auto, from program mode, aperture mode, shutter priority, manual control. And then they've also added some features quite unique to this camera as well. So because of the amount of zoom that it has, there is a moon mode on this one that has been added. Sorry, the camera's trying to focus. So it's got the moon mode, and also there is a birding mode on there as well. That just get for first-time users, it's a little bit easier to stick it straight onto this mode, and you can capture wildlife photography or take pictures of the moon very, very quickly. Let's switch the camera on. You'll notice with this particular one, we have the rocker switch for the zoom that's on the front just here, but we've also got one on the other side on here. So depending on how we're holding it, we can use the zoom on here, or we can use it on the rocker switch just on the front there. Now, one of the features that I love about the Coolpix range, and it's found on like the P900, the 950, and the 1000, is that we have a button at the front here. It's probably going to be quite difficult for me to show you on camera, but essentially what we can do is we can zoom in to a part of the picture. Now, when we push this button, what it will do is it will zoom out so we can see our surroundings that we're actually taking a picture of. And then in the middle of the frame, there is a small square. Now we line up our subject within that small square. Once we push it, once we let go of the button, it will zoom back into that square area. So it's a real easy camera for using to find your subject and zoom in onto it. Moving to the back of the camera, we've got the vari-angled screen. So this one, what this does, it comes out and flips all the way around. So if we wanted to use it for sort of selfie modes, then we can flip this all the way around just on here, or we can have it for varying angles. So if we wanted to get quite low to something, then we can do, or if we wanted to get over something, then we can flip the screen this way as well. So totally vari-angled screen, which we can use, and it does flip back on itself, so we can use it as a conventional screen on the back just there as well. Standard features on the back, so you can access the macro functions. We've got exposure compensation on the side, our self timer, which we can access the burst modes on it. We can change our flash settings just on the top here. This camera does have the capability of going into manual mode autofocus as well. So on this particular switching button just here, what we're able to do is we're able to switch from autofocus to manual focus very, very quickly, just on a flick of a switch. We've also got a nice big toggle on the top here, or function wheel, sorry. So if we're in sort of aperture priority mode, then we can use this to change our aperture or shutter speeds, depending on which mode that we're on. It does have the capability of shooting fantastic video as well, and they've also improved this on the 950 by adding in a microphone socket. So on the side here, what you're able to do is you are able to add a microphone via 3.5 jack, and the microphone can sit on the top of the hot shoe just there. Once again, with this particular camera, one of the main features is the zoom that you're getting for the money. So 2000 millimeter 35mm equivalent zoom on this one, which is an amazing amount of zoom that we can have on this particular camera. And it's also got the capabilities of shooting RAW as well, so it can really accompany like a professional photographer if you wanted it. Something that's going to be a lot smaller, a lot lighter than carrying around very big lenses. So it makes it a great camera for sort of wildlife scouting when you don't want to take your when you don't want to take your big gear out. So what's up from this one? We would go then to probably one of the Sony ranges. Now there are more. These are just free. We do sell a lot more, which are available on our website, but this is just a highlight. And the one that I wanted to show you next would be the Sony. So this is the RX10 series. Now in the series, there are a number of cameras available. So this particular one has a 20 million pixel 1-inch sensor. So we'll go into the 1-inch in a second. 25 times optical zoom, which is a 25-600. Really geared up for the video shooting as well. So not only does it shoot 4K, but it does have super slow-mo versions on it as well. So you're able to increase your frame rates to give you slow motion video. Shoots RAW and up to 14 frames per second on the burst mode. Wi-Fi connectivity sells for 1199, but is in the cashback summer promotion from Sony as well. So after cashback, it does bring it down to 999. And this is the camera here. So physically, size-wise, to this one, it's roughly about the same size as the Nikon, possibly a little bit smaller than the Nikon, which is quite nice. A lot less zoom because it has a 1-inch type sensor. Now this is almost 4 times the size of the other 2 models that we're getting. So you could argue 4 times the image quality. So you are really, really getting close to that DSLR or mirrorless look with this particular camera. We've got standard button sort of features on it as well. But what you will notice with this particular camera is that there are a lot more customizable buttons, which we have seen on some of the A series. So if you've been familiar with like the A7 Mark III, this camera will feel very, very familiar to you because it's got like the C1, C2, and there's also a C3, which is located on the back of the camera. So these buttons can be customized to do exactly what you want them to do. As standard, C1 is set to move your ISO, C2 is your drive mode, and C3 is unallocated as it stands. So that is something that you would allocate yourself. You'll notice looking at the top of the camera, we've got this aperture collar ring just on here as well. Sorry, let me move my hands about so I can move this for you. And so we can move our aperture manually on the lens, which is a lovely experience to actually have. And just on the bottom of the camera here, there is a switch, which for video users, what you can do is you can actually de-click and then this will then run nice and smoothly. So if you're using this camera for video, you can control your exposure via your aperture. and get a nice smooth transition in video mode as well, which is quite nice. You've got the zoom feature, which is on the front of the camera. So we've got this rocker switch, but also on top of that, we do have this larger wheel on the lens here, which will operate the zoom lens as well. So not only can we use the zoom from the rocker switch just on here, is that we also have the barrel, so we can zoom in and out on here as well. And then the front collar, when we set the camera into manual focus, this is the wheel that we'd use for manual focus. This particular camera has a switching system, which is located on the bottom for changing your focus modes. So you have a single autofocus, continuous autofocus, digital manual autofocus, and then manual autofocus as well. On the back of the camera, you've got the function button, which will bring up a small menu so you can access some of the other features that are available on the camera. Once again, this is very, very familiar to the A system. On the top, back onto the top of the camera, we also have another dial on here, or a wheel that we can use for our exposure compensation. So you can easily access your exposure compensation on the top there. So it's a lot easier to change your exposure when you're on the go. So with this particular camera, there's no denying that it's very, very expensive. So obviously at £1,000, it's a very expensive bridge camera. But when you compare it to potentially what you would spend on getting a very, very similar quality from something else, it's probably like 10% of potentially what you would spend. With the 1-inch sensor in there that's bringing that DSLR type image quality, you're able to get some super, super sharp pictures with that DSLR look on your pictures as well. So it's affordable for when you're comparing it to you know, what you potentially get in anything else to get the image quality there. So, you know, who would this camera be for? It makes a great all-rounder, definitely more for the amateur professional. So you might use it with potentially like other kit. So great for scouting. Really, really good for video. So you've got the 4K shooting, but not only that, it could go up to 1,000 frames per second in the video. I would say more usable at the 240 frames per second because that's at full HD, but that's still very, very slow as far as frames per second when recording as well. So that's a brief overview of the our 3 most popular cameras. I can see that we've had some questions coming in, so let's go to those now. Had a few hellos, and hello everyone. Hello Dave. There we go. We've had a question from Patricia there. Nikon, is there a sensor? Sorry, is there a sensor on the eyepiece that will automatically switch between the screen and the eye? I believe there is, but I'll just double check. Yes, there is. So on this particular one, if I can just get this camera to focus. Come on, there you go. So what we do is we've got an eye sensor, wrong hand, got an eye sensor just here. So when you've got the screen open, which it is now, when the eye sensor is on, it will switch between the two. Let's see if we can get this working. There we go. So the sensor will switch between there. You can also control this relationship on this button just here. So you're able to quickly change between what you want these relationships to actually be. Okay, let's go to the next question from Debbie here. What stage would you put the Nikon on a tripod with the zoom? So all of these models have built-in image stabilization, and they are actually designed to be used handheld. So the idea of these particular models is that you can actually use them handheld. Obviously, when you're looking at sort of photography in general, There are times where you would want to put things onto a tripod, so when your shutter speeds do become low, but normally when you're shooting wildlife, you'd need your shutter speeds to be fairly high, depending on what you're actually taking pictures of. And these are capable of shooting that. When you're shooting in the full auto mode or some of the scene features, so like the bird modes that we saw on the top just there, focus, there we go. Once again, it's been designed to use handheld. So you're able to you're able to hold it in your hand. The image stabilizer will kick in. It will look at your shutter speeds and make sure that you're going to get some nice sharp photos. Let's have a look at our next question. Okay, so from Gary, do you have the Sony RX10 Mark IV? Image quality is superb. Yes, we do have that particular model in. I just picked this one because it's a little bit cheaper and also available on the promotion as well. So it makes a great camera for the money, really, once you get the cash back. So £200 saving on the RX10 Mark III makes it a really good camera for the money. But yes, we do have the RX10 Mark IVs in as well. So another one from Patricia here as well. So what's the back screen like on the, so I'm guessing what's the image quality like on the screen? So the image quality is, sorry, let's have a look. How does the back screen move on? Oh, I think you're hitting maybe the enter button. So I'll just go over the quality of the screen. So the quality, I can't remember exactly. Sorry, I unplugged my microphone there as well. You can tell these are live. I'd have to look at exactly what the specs are on the quality of it, but it's a really, really crisp screen. And the so the back screen on the Nikon, what it will do is it will flip like this one here, so it moves around, and then on the Sony, it is articulated, but what we have is it will come out like this from the screen. Okay, and then what we're able to do is we're able to bring it into for looking. Come on, focus. There we go. That's better. So we're able to look it from looking down at the camera, and also we can flip it like this. So if we wanted to get above somebody's head, then we can do as well. But it doesn't come all the way around. So it's not ideal for if you're using it for like vlogging sensors, but it is quite a big heavy camera to sort of hold out like that as well. So it's got the movement for if you wanted to get very low to the floor, or if you wanted to get above somebody's head as well. Okay, I think that's it for all the questions there. Thank you very much for joining in live. It's always nice to see everyone asking questions about these things as well. Makes it a little bit more interactive, and one of the reasons why we like to go live opposed to just posting up a video. If you are watching this after the fact, you can still put in your comments, and we can get to them and ask any questions that you do have. If you are watching on Facebook, make sure that you like our page and also share this video if you can. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to our page and also hit the bell notifications to get more information on when we go live. Let's just see. Just another quick question sort of coming in there. Let's have a look at this. Build-wise, for holiday travel, the Panasonic would be good. Suitable for carrying massive DSLR, but for the price as well. Yep. They're all very good models for carrying. Obviously, it just depends on the price point that you want to achieve, and also as well the amount of zoom that you want to carry, and the almost the budget that you wanted to budget that you wanted to spend as well. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.